Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another video. I love Metallica. That was the band that got me to pick up guitar, and I'm guessing that's the same for a lot of you watching. I've demoed 2 of James Hetfield's guitars so far, and I've loved them, but I'll be the first to admit that Kirk Hammett's metal-style Super Strats never really tickled my fancy until this one. A ton of you have been asking for an LTD KH demo, and this limited edition Ouija is freaking gorgeous, so I figured this is as good an excuse as any to make a video. So without further ado, let's take a closer look. So the first thing you should know about this guitar is that only 666 of these LTDs are being made. That's so metal and so cheesy, and you just have to love that. This limited edition comes in a special Ouija hard case with a pretty dank certificate of authenticity from ESP. Now I think this guitar is subjectively gorgeous. The Ouija graphic has been used on a lot of Hammett's guitars for years, and it's always been really cool, but for this limited run, it's on top of a natural quilted maple veneer. I mean, look at this thing, and even the headstock has a quilted maple veneer to match the body. Then you have the star and moon inlays that match the spiritual visual motif, so in my opinion, this is Kirk's best looking LTD, and he's had a lot of them. Besides the finish, most of the specs match the standard KH-602. The Ouija has an alder body, a 3-piece maple neck, but unlike the 602, it has a Makassar ebony fingerboard instead of rosewood. This is the first time I've played a guitar with a Makassar ebony board, and I like it a lot. It feels like ebony, but with streaks and striped patterns that gives each guitar a unique personality. Like all the other high-end LTDs I've tried, there's an air of quality about the Ouija, and the construction doesn't feel cheap at all. Onto the hardware, the tuners are LTD branded, though that doesn't really matter all that much since the guitar features a Floyd Rose bridge and locking nut. I generally don't like Floyd Roses since they're a bit of a pain in the butt if you want to switch tunings, but on a Kirk Hammett signature guitar, it just makes sense. Honestly, it would feel kind of wrong if the Ouija didn't have one, and to be fair, they're always a ton of fun for lead stuff. For sound, the Ouija doesn't really reinvent the wheel for metal guitars. Kirk Hammett's been playing EMGs for years, and the Ouija comes with the same 8160 combo found in most of his other signatures. Here's what they sound like clean through my dual rectifier. And here's what they sound like dirty. So yeah, the standard 9-volt battery-powered EMGs, and as expected, they handle wah pretty well. There doesn't really seem to be a middle ground on the internet for these pickups. You'll either be like me and love that active tone, or you won't. I will say I am kind of disappointed that the Ouija doesn't come with Hammett's new signature Bonebreaker pickups, so I guess we'll have to wait until the 2018 Purple Sparkle version is released. It's just unfortunate they weren't able to get them ready in time for this one. If you've watched any of my other videos on LTDs, you probably know by now that one of my favorite things about them is just how comfortable they are to play. The Ouija comes with ESP's comfortable extra thin U neck shape, 24 extra jumbo frets, and neck-through construction. The fretwork, at least on this one, is very good, no sharp ends, they're level and well polished, and altogether it makes for a guitar that's perfect for shredders. Go figure, since Kirk Hammett is the lead guitar player for the biggest metal band in the world. As a rhythm player, I personally prefer the regular thin U shape since it has a little more heft, but the extra thin version was pretty easy to adjust to. And now it's time for Simon Says, the segment where we ask my guitar noob roommate, who doesn't know that much about guitars, what he thinks of the LTD Ouija. Simon, what do you think of this guitar?
Whoa, this is a Ouija board.
Yes, it is.
Is it haunted?
I don't know, why don't you try it out?
6 strings, I mean, it's like alright. I don't know if I like the color of this. It's like a what is that?
It's you.
It's got one of these switches again. Guitar Hero things. This is like a little bayonet.
Yeah.
So let's call it.
Yeah, so the guy's signature on the front, that's Kirk Hammett, and he's the lead guitarist for Metallica.
Oh, Metallica. Ooh, that's a big band.
So if you had to guess, how much do you think this guitar costs?
I would guess this guitar, like maybe like 300 bucks, 400 bucks.
400 bucks?
Yeah.
Damn, for Metallica Korean made?
Hunter! Alright, let's go with a higher number. Maybe like $5.99.
$5.99.
Yeah.
You're a bit off. Here's another factor. There's only 666 of them in the world.
Wow. 666.
It's pretty metal.
That is pretty metal. Oh, I have one in my hand.
Yeah.
Okay, it's probably way more than $5.99. You're gonna
It's a little more than $5.99.
No! I don't like the feel of this guitar. It just feels gimmicky. I'm gonna hate comments. No.
So, how many thumbs do you give this one?
I'll give it a 1 thumb. I mean, the design of it's cool. I just don't like the glossy feel of it, that's all. Also, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm talking about guitars, so keep that in mind too.
So I think the LTD Ouija is really cool, but I wish a bit more from the ESP version made it to the LTD. For starters, and I've been complaining about this for a while, I still have no idea why most of the LTDs, including this one, come with a relatively flat 14-inch fingerboard radius as opposed to the rounder 12-inch one found on the ESP variants. After all, Kirk's own guitars that he plays on tour and in the studio have the 12-inch radius spec. It's not like it's any harder to do, it just requires a different mold, and it's one of the things that I much prefer about my ESP Eclipse over an LTD EC1000. Secondly, the pickup covers on the ESP matches the rest of the finish, whereas on the LTD, they're the standard EMG plastic black. I get that they wanted to make the ESP version look better, but for $1,400, you'd think that this is something that could have been included. Lastly, the ESP has a scalloped fingerboard from the 17th to 24th frets, whereas the LTD does not. That would have been a very cool feature that would have really set this guitar apart from the other Floyd Rose and EMG equipped Super Strats in the same price range. Considering that this limited edition is $600 more than the standard KH-602, I feel like they could have made it work. Overall though, and I never thought that I'd say this about one of Hammett's Super Strats, I really like the Ouija. But the thing about the Ouija is that you're paying a pretty hefty premium because there's only 666 of these beauties. At $1,400, that's only a couple $100 shy of a Japanese-made E2, depending on which model you're looking at. So if you like what I'm saying about this guitar but don't really care about the limited edition graphics, I'd recommend checking out the standard KH-602. Granted, it doesn't come with a hard case, it has a rosewood fingerboard instead of Makassar ebony, and the finish is just gloss black, but at $899, it's also $500 less. So the LTD Ouija is expensive for what it is, but personally, out of all the KH-602 variants, this is the one that I'd want to own. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. These are just my opinions and I'd love to hear yours, so leave them in the comments and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support me continue to make this content and get bonus extras like song downloads and tabs, check out my Patreon. Thanks to my buddy Pad for mixing the demo track, check out his channel. ESP limited the production of these Ouijas to 25 ESPs and 666 LTDs worldwide, and they've been selling like crazy, so if you want to pick one up before they're gone, you can use the link in the description below. As always, thanks so much for watching, you've been awesome. This is the LTD Kirk Hammett Ouija Natural, and I'll see you for the next video.